Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are back at it again. Tower of God Season 2 breakdown. It has been a while. Lonnie's been busy with his wedding stuff. I've been busy as well. So we definitely took a long time from talking about Season 1 to Season 2. Also, it took me a while to finish the anime as well, I'm be honest. But we're finally finished. Now we're going to move on to Monwell for future conversations. But I watched Tower of God Season 2, and real briefly, Lonnie, I'm going to say this. The hate for Tower of God Season 2 is forced. After watching it, yeah, there was like when they were in that maze, that animation was bad or mid to bad. Some of the fights were just not it. After that, the whole workshop was actually pretty good. So I'm like, bro, people just have one opinion about Tower. It's just like, should I might have to say this, Lonnie. The manhwa community is way more toxic than the manga community. I think we're reaching that point where they're way more toxic than the manga community. And I don't know, the pattern shows. The pattern shows, man.
I slightly disagree, or at least as a big manhwa person, I sympathize with them because imagine if like Dragon Ball just had a terrible adaptation, or Naruto, or Bleach, like the top manhwas in the manhwa space. A lot of them don't have good adaptations, so I feel like if you like compare apples and oranges, like if you say like, oh, this is a dragon of manhwa, this is the Naruto of manhwa, this is the One Piece of manhwa, and it doesn't have a good adaptation, I feel like I understand and sympathize with the crash out. I think manhwa fans just want like good adaptations for their respected series, which is fair.
I think that is fair, which is why I'm like, I understand the T-bait crash outs. Tower of God's animation is literally on par with the big three when they first introduced Black Clover. I'll, maybe My Hero season one. I don't think it's that far off from
Same
those
time though,
adaptations.
those came out like 10 years ago.
But even yes, but my point still stands that they weren't as toxic when those came out compared to Tower of God. Season one, I think we both agree the adaptation was good and people were hating on it.
People didn't like the art style. I thought it was different and like unique, so I was like, I was messing with it. A lot of people just couldn't get into the art style of season one. I thought it was like, oh, this is like a different feel, so I liked it personally. But no, a lot of people hated on it. So I understand why they didn't like it. But yeah, I we're on like two different sides of this. I'm not even gonna talk about T bait because I was fine with episode three. Episode four was probably one of the laziest outside of Uzumaki. It was one of the laziest episodes I've ever seen. Like it was legit lazy, and I'll probably break that down on Tuesday. But it's not even about bad animation. It was just like this is lazy. This is a lot of copy and paste. This is people's, and they also messed with the story a little bit, which I didn't like. I didn't appreciate. I mean, it's a little,
Oh.
they did mess with the story a little bit. I didn't appreciate that, but we'll get into that on Tuesday.
Hmm. Well, ultimately, when it comes to Tower of God season two, after watching all of it, I think for the most part, the animation's pretty solid. The fights are nothing crazy. I'll say the last fights, like the end where they were fighting, like the mass dude,
The
was
B rank
pretty
guy.
good. And when Bam was fighting Beta, I thought that was pretty good too. But after other than that, I mean, all the others kind of meh. The beginning fights with Bam versus the Ranker was pretty solid too. So yeah, just a little bit of over exaggeration. But let's talk about the story a little bit because I'm gonna preface this too. I want to start this out because I do think this is gonna lay out the conversation. My appreciation for Wangnan has gone up for this after this rewatch, especially season two. And I think the dynamic between Bam and Wangnan is like Luffy and Kobe done right. I think that's what it really is when you really take a back seat of it. And then even I feel like the live action even knew that because they gave Kobe a way more important role in the live action version compared to the manga. I bet Oda, if he could redo it, he would make Kobe more important. But in Tower of God, they already established right from the beginning that Wangnan is arguably just as important as Bam for the purposes of this story. So those two, I mean, so later on, Wandong is going to be pushed aside a little bit, but his importance in season two, I think, was very purposeful. This guy, pay attention to him throughout. What do you think?
Um, when it comes to him, I have my theories about him and why he's so important. I mean, they haven't outright said where he comes from, stuff like that, but you can kind of infer a
You
little
can
bit.
refer a few things. We'll try to. We
And
won't
we're gonna
spoil the other
try to
seasons.
avoid all that. Like
Yeah.
that's future Manhwa talk. But if my theories are correct, then yes, he will be extremely, extremely important. Probably almost as important as Bond, but especially when it comes to dealing with the main ops and stuff like that. But no, he is an interesting. They do have an interesting parallel because like he's not strong, he's not necessarily really smart, but like he just tries his hardest and like he's always there. He's always there for his friends. He's always just down to do whatever. And I
He's
do
your typical protagonist.
like he's low key the heart of the group, but he's also the weakest at the same time.
Facts. We can probably touch upon that in this breakdown too, because there is enough nuggets that we can break down. At the very least, give our initial thoughts when we saw it, and then I'm sure people will be able to piece certain pieces together as well. But let's start in kind of chronological order. Start off the season two starts off with us not knowing what's going on. We actually start the story with Wong Nan. Now, if you're first time viewing Tower of God season two, you'd be like, "Who the hell is this? Where's Bam? What's going on?" Like big time skip. Well, I always say, think of season one as a prologue. Season two is where the story officially starts, and we got introduced to Wong Nan. We got introduced to Bam's new group with Meesing, Prince, Goseng, Yeon, Akrapatur. He has a weird name. And then Horyong. This is like his new group for the purposes of like this season. And we'll talk about the old guys because they do come back. But how do you feel? Oh, also Bam is now used a different name in this season, Juvioli Grace, which is going to be the name they're going to be using mostly, to be honest. How do you feel about the new group? How did you feel about the new group compared to the old group when season two, when you watch season two?
Uh, I've always had mixed feelings about this group because like some of them I thought were like they're kind of dope, and then others I could care less. I could really care less about. Like the mob boss's son,
Prince, yeah.
yeah, I could care less. The nerd girl that like is in love with the dude with the one arm, I could care less.
She's there for, be the mother of the group.
Who cares? The little girl too, I could care less. I wish I
Nah,
could give her like some type of potential, like oh she'll eventually be a type of problem type, but no, they didn't do that for her either. So the Han girl is probably one of the only people that I'm invested in. Of course, the one-eyed demon, the one-armed demon.
Haryong, yeah.
Yeah, is he a problem? And then the weakest guy in the group. Everybody else, whatever.
I'm not mad at it because, like, when I first seen it, I was like, "Why is there a new group? Like, what's going on? Why? What is this? What is this group? What about the old guys?" Um, I've come to like them more. Their dynamic is actually more like interesting to me in terms of being like familial compared to the season one dynamic because it was really just Bam, Kun, and Rock, and then everybody else was all in their own kind of lane. So this one was interesting, but again, they also a lot of them have very low ceilings, which is kind of what Lonnie's alluding to.
Like very low ceilings.
Yeah, but also I think that's probably on purpose because another big part about this group compared to the former group is the former group was kind of centered around Bam, whereas this group is not centered around Juviole Grace. It's like centered around Wong Nan featuring Juviole Grace, which is the interesting part about this. If you really pay attention to their dynamic, and even Kun later on in the season calls, "You're the leader of this group." So I think that's kind of the nice touch for this one in particular. So I'll give him that at the
I
very
kind
least.
of attributed like kind of like Kuroke no basketball. Like they had an ace, but the ace wasn't the leader. Like Bam
Yeah.
is the ace, or Jovial Grace is the ace. He's the strongest one there. He's like what carries. He's what carries them through everything, but he's not the leader. So it's kind of similar to that. But no, I think like when we probably get more like deeper into the story, like later on in like future arcs, I don't know if they're gonna matter as much, but I feel like that group is gonna be a overall force to be reckoned with because of who their leader is.
Yeah, I'll touch upon a few things a little bit later because Haryong's story is very important in this arc for like the workshop, and his story is going to be very connected to the Hell Train arc because they went to try to capture his brother. So that's kind of his story tied with his brother and Emily, and then Yihan is going to be very much tied to Wonnan for a while, considering she is a princess from a royal family. Mi Sing gets interesting later on. You know, we won't spoil you, but she does some very interesting things later on. Prince, I don't remember him doing anything. A Cropter, I mean, I forget. Do we ever get anything? I'm trying to remember if we get anything later on regarding his daughter because that's a big thing, a part of his story. And then Gosing does stuff. I'll leave it at that.
I think like they mentioned his daughter like once or twice like later on, but like it doesn't amount to anything.
Yeah, maybe they're just kind of keeping it for. We'll see with that one. Um, Before we kind of go deeper into like their individual stories, another thing to talk about for this season, they start from the 20th floor, so big time skip. A lot of them went up major floors from that last time. A new princess, a new princess now has the yellow May, the first princess since Garam to have two weapons of Jihad, the 13-month series that we've talked about in the season one breakdown. Yuri's the first since a princess named Garam to have two of them in her possession. And then we meet a new sister of Jihad, and she has pink
Daughter.
hair. What were you about to say? Oh, I thought you were about to say something.
No, I said
Uh,
daughter of Jihad.
you said what?
Daughter of Jihad.
Daughters of Jihad, my bad. Daughters of Jihad. And she has pink hair, and she says a very interesting quote to kind of lead into everything. Prince of Jihad will return very soon. That is what she says while she's looking for Giovial Grace. And at that point, you're like, who's the Prince of Jihad? There's enough nuggets in this season. I feel like a lot of people should be theorizing the Prince of Jihad is probably Wang Nan. Based off this season alone, I'm not even spoiling anything. I'm purely talking about this season. Because I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. Let's talk about the little nuggets on the Prince of Jihad, the ring. The ring is a big thing that's alluding to him being very special. That ring being Jihad's symbol. Why does he have it? There's multiple times where certain characters are alluding to his destiny and his importance. Later on, I didn't remember this, Alani. I don't know if you remember this. Later on, when Wanon gets stabbed through the heart, he heals extremely quickly. And I'm like, I didn't notice how big of a deal that was at that time. But no, that's actually crazy. And now you're also noticing a lot of people looking at Wongon very differently on how this guy's more important than we expected. And also different Thug members noticed the importance of Wongnon, as well as Redhead noticed the importance of Wongnon. So there's a lot of things alluding to him potentially being the Prince of Jahan that people are alluding to in the story.
But also remember, oh wait, no, that's future. Never mind. Never mind. Never mind.
Were you were you about to talk about the other individual?
The person that also has a ring.
That actually ends. That actually we see that at the end of season two, so we could talk about that a little bit. Because at the very end of season two, Karaka is also wearing a ring. So what does that mean? We don't know yet. We don't know yet. But they're wearing the same rings. Wandan is very important. Karaka has a ring, and Karaka has been noted a few times. We'll talk about Karaka a little bit later. But when you seen this the first time, were you thinking like, "Yo, is Wandan the Prince of Jihad?" Because that's legit came to mind the first time I've seen that.
That's what I was thinking, because like, but that because they also said like, oh, Jihad can only like give his blood to princesses or whatever, or to women. Like he can't like he can't have his own children. So what he does is that he gives his blood to people of the 10 families, women of the 10 families, to like basically be his clan or whatever. But he can't do it to men for some reason, or it's either he can or he doesn't want to. So, but we also know that he can't have children himself because he's too powerful. So why does someone that who, because we know like Jihad like kind of has also has blonde hair and things like that. So why does a male have his ring with his symbol on it? Like that doesn't make a lot of sense. So
Yeah. No, I'm 100% with you. Even like reading later on the story, I'm thinking about Wandan, and from what I could, from where I stop, I still don't know the connection between Wandan and Jihad potentially. So it's a lot of kind of like, what is he? Who is he? Which ultimately makes things very interesting. And one big theory I'm gonna have for later on is that I think eventually Wangnon and Julioli Grace will be enemies. I think that's a very strong potentiality, the
I could
future.
I could definitely see that. Uh, I feel like it could be a situation where one has to deal with the other or whatever. Like I feel like eventually, if Bam wants to beat Jihad, he might have to take care of him first. So
Because Juvioli Grace is trying to be used to destroy Jihad and basically, tear down the tower system, whereas Wandon wants to change the tower. So technically, their goals are not aligned with their destinies. So I'm very curious to see how everything kind of plays out because both of them are very important moving forward. A couple other people we meet in this season, we meet some Fug members. So to start out for the anime, we meet Karaka, who Demon Timon. We meet Horion. We meet Jing Sun, the freaking dog, and then we meet Yu Han Sung. Is Yu Han Sung the person I'm talking about? The big dude, the fucking demon. So those are some of the Fug members we meet in the start out, and yeah, they're very important later on if you can't tell. Um, I'm gonna save the Rachel talk for a little bit later. Rachel did some things in this season that something else. We also meet, Jun Sung's a high ranker, loves a ranker. We meet the irregular. All right, this is a topic point. Auric Mazino. We meet him officially in season two, which in hindsight, like, even while I was reading, I was like, bro, we meeting this dude early on. What do you do think about Ulrich, the strongest quote unquote man in the tower?
he's the Gojo of the story. He's just considered Himothy. Like yeah, there's still like if Jihad is Sakuna, this guy is Gojo. He's just supposed to be like that, and he really is like that. He's also a regular like Bam, like Jihad. And he's just he's just a dog. Like you just see him back tattoo, wears no shirt for no reason. Uh, and it's just a power up crash out. He can just do. He's so powerful. He can do whatever he wants, and he knows that there's no one that can do anything about it. And kind of like Gojo. Gojo's like, hey, I'm stronger than everybody. I can do whatever I want, and there's nothing that no one can do about it. and just like because Jihad hasn't been active for like I think hundreds of years, so he's just been he's been the strongest active person for as long as he's been there. So he doesn't have consequences. He doesn't have he doesn't have ops. He just does what he wants. So and you kind of get to see meeting Bam. You kind of get to see where Bam's at, and like also like the top of the top pinnacle. It's like it's almost like an Invincible where you meet Battle Beast in season one, when like Battle Beast is like a top three strongest character in the verse, where Mark has no chance of hurting them, but he just shows up. It's kind of the same thing. Like Bam had zero chance of ever even like really hurting him at all. Yeah, like if all of them attacked together, they wouldn't even land a scratch on him.
Well,
It was just
Bam technically did land a scratch on
he
him.
did land a scratch on him, but also he wasn't fighting serious either. And
Oh, for sure.
we also know in this world, scratches heal way too quickly. You can get fatal wounds. You can basically get exploded and you'll be fine, depending on like what kind of powers you have. Yeah, so Van wasn't gonna win that at all. But the fact that he like was able to see like, oh, when he gets to my level, he's going to be a problem, says a lot about what Bam eventually is going to be. Because he's talking about like, because these guys are like little puppy dogs that like he's basically a god, and these guys are basically mortals. And he's just like, oh, when he becomes basically a god, he's going to be dangerous. I need to keep my eye on this guy eventually. So that just shows that like, oh, Bam is gonna be him. So
No, for sure. I think this was a good litmus test on like Bam's future capabilities, but at the same time, it was a very interesting outlook on another faction of the tower. Because Urich is in charge of this organization who has a freaking long, hard to pronounce name. It's called Wolf something. Um, and they're kind of they're not Fug by any means, because Fug has good and evil people in there. But they just hate the elders, they just hate the family leaders, and they hate Jihad. Wolf kind of does their own thing. In this, and when we see him in the anime, he went out of his way to save the Zagina species from the Yeon family, and basically proving that he's kind of like an environmentalist. He cares about animals, right? So he's going to do whatever he thinks is in the best interest of the people in the tower. And he has a lot of very strong people in his organization, including a princess of Jihad, Yuri, which is very interesting that she's also part of him. And if you remember, season one, the couple of rankers were talking about going to meet, going to Wolf, that Wolf organization, the Urich's organization. They're going to go see him. And Yuri told Bam to go and meet Urich as well. So this was all supposed to happen for that organization. That Bam is going to be a very interesting part if he ends up joining. So right off a rip, not only is Urich one of the strongest people in the tower, he also says that he wants to go outside the tower and see the skies and the stars, very similar to what Rachel wants to see. Just saying, just saying. He's also basically a good guy. Like you can right off the rip, he's a good person, but he will do what means necessary because he just killed those rankers without even thinking twice about it.
mhm.
So he's one of those characters, very likable. He's definitely the Gojo of this universe. Um,
I was
Another, and speaking of killing, oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say eventually when you meet other people at his level, basically like the other leaders of like the families and stuff like that, they're completely different from him. Like they know that they acknowledge that like yo he's as strong if not stronger than us, but they treat people and they view the world and they view the tower extremely different than he does because he's a nice guy and he cares about the tower. They all just care about themselves and they're all like really self-centered and they're all like they're low-key all like monsters of people in like just human form. And he realizes that and he's like he's kind of like the balance in between. He's just like, hey, I'm at your guys' level, but I'm still a person. You guys are assholes. We're not doing this. And like you get so like he is like the I would say he is like really the Gojo of Tower of God because like people at his level, you're like these people are sick in the fucking head, and he didn't. But he, I don't know, he's just different.
Yeah, the family leaders basically think of them very similar to like the Holy Knights slash Celestial Dragons. Like they view people as like lower than them. but they are, don't think of them as celestial drink because a lot of those guys are just obnoxious, don't really do anything. Holy Knights is a better example, but these people think everybody is lesser, but they're capable of doing that. Like, what, you're not going to do anything to stop them. You're not even close to being at their level. And also, a lot of them are calculated. So it's a very interesting dynamic. And we'll talk about how bad this family can really be, and the princesses, and this entire structure in a little bit later. But one thing that's, underappreciated about Tower of God is it's a pretty brutal series when you take a step back. Like, people die. Like, a lot of people die. It gets pretty bloody murder. The fact that Wannon's friend just got stabbed in the gut and just died, and then Wannon had the chance to take his revenge. You don't see that a lot in like shonen type of stories on how being so brutal, and like good characters just dying like that. So I don't think people talk about that enough. What did you think about when Wannon spared that guy's life and what he said in that moment?
I thought it showed his maturity because I feel like a lot of characters, especially in Tower of God, probably wouldn't do that. Um, and it also showed that like not that he's built different, but I feel that he it kind of just showed that like oh he's a cut above the rest in terms of mentality because yeah like Tower of God is a very cutthroat place and it's all about everyone's mentality is climbing the tower, climbing the tower, climbing the tower. But he still was able to like have that sense of humanity and have that sense of right and wrong and being like yo like it's not gonna be an eye for an eye like I'm gonna rise above this situation. Could
Yeah,
have
and
easily
that's
I would have murked that guy immediately. I would have murked him.
majority of people would have murked him, which is why Wangnan is such a special character for the series. He's one of the few people that thinks like that. Even Bam would have killed him. So that tells you who the type of person Wangnan is, trying to lead by example. So, like I said, really pay attention to the differences between Wangnan and Bam because they are not the same by any means. But they are all both have like very important roles. Um, Moving on, let's talk about Kun because he returns in the story eventually in the anime, and he has his own new squad. We have Ondine Dawn, we had Novik, the spear bearer, we had Apple, we had Michael the missionary, we had Ginting, we had Ron the fisherman, and those are it. What did you think about the Kun's new squad when we got introduced to him?
See, he actually got some dogs on his squad. Like he actually got people with some motion. Uh, no, like I, his little brother is like he's not like one of the MCs, but like he's like that. He just gets a lot of love throughout the series. The little lightning dude.
Ron, yeah.
Yeah. So I do love him. Uh, I am excited to see where his story goes because I think the author said that like he's basically like not he's not like the third most important, but like in terms of, like the main cast, he's like the third guy to watch out for. Like because we all watch Bam, we watch the Prince of Jihad, and like we have to watch this guy. And yeah, he's just a not a crash out, but he's just about that action all the time. All he wants is to smoke, and he just wants to keep on getting stronger and stronger. And I really fuck with it. But no, the rest of the group is pretty solid too. Like they have that speedster. Fuck Rachel. We all know what she did. Uh,
Yeah.
and I feel like Kun is one of my favorite characters. I'm pretty sure he's like in my top three. Because he knew like automatically after everything that happened between Bam and Rachel, he's like something's not right, and he really felt like yo, Rachel did something to Bam, and so the fact that like for years he's been catering to her, uh, making her feel
Well,
like
actually, he knew outright what she did
yeah,
because Liroro told him that she's not actually paralyzed. And the moment he found that out, he realized she's been lying the entire time.
and he's just been playing her game on purpose for what at this point a few years,
Yeah, years for sure.
just acting like yo, like I'm gonna take care of you. We're gonna get reach the top of the tower together, yada yada yada. And he's just been playing, and like everyone that joins his squad, is in on it, except for the people that ended up betraying him. Because like what?
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. Yeah, we got.
Yeah, no, Kun is different. Kun is his patience is crazy. His strategy, phenomenal. Uh, I really feel like in his story, his only weakness for some reason is Bam. That's like always his.
It's
That's
kind
always
of obsessed with Bam. Yeah,
so. Yeah, that's gonna be interesting.
yeah. I would have liked. I've said this in season one. I would like Kun more if he had like his own goals, but he's kind of just like cares about what Bam got going, which is why I like Wongnon so much because it seems like his story is independent of Bam, and I like it when more than one character is important. I'm just saying, it just like it makes things more interesting.
I will say when Tower God Mama comes back, I really feel like this is like Kun's big not separation from Bam. I mean, there's a possibility for a separation with Bam, but it's really gonna cause him to like figure out what he wants this upcoming arc because he's
I
really
feel like it has to do with his sister.
huh?
I feel like it has to do with his sister. Yeah, they keep on alluding to his sister and his dynamic being very problematic.
And who does his sister work for?
Hey man,
Yeah, so eventually he's gonna have to make a choice. Eventually he's gonna have, and this is it's gonna coming down the upcoming arc. Eventually he's gonna have to make a choice because she's on Bam's ass. She's on Bam's ass.
yeah, because at the end of the day, you got to realize Kuhn's goal is to be the family leader. So he wants to overthrow his dad. Um, so that technically does not align with what Bam is destined to do. So again, that's just another thing to take in consideration. But as for Kuhn's new squad, after rewatching it, I already knew Ron was a dog. I feel like everybody knew Ron was a dog. I did not remember how great Novik is. Because after rewatching season two, he does so much that I just did not remember. Like he helps Bam a lot, and he helps Kun a lot in this. And he's not as strong as Ron, but he has a good like charisma about him. I respect it. Novik impressed me. Novik impressed me. And then the racer dude, and then the stuff with Rachel, everything 100% agree with. But let's might as well just transition right into it. Apple and Michael betray Kun because they were working with Fug, who wanted to take out Kun in this season because Kun is a threat to keeping Bam on the leash. We all know this. And then they also were working with Rachel. And in that scene where the guy when they poisoned that bird dude, he just got cooked. That was tough. But yeah, Rachel just started stabbing the crap out of Don's back
Cause
and his legs.
she's such trash, bro. She's such trash. If she was only trash to Bam, that would be one thing. If she was only trash to Bam, I mean that's bad enough what she does to Bam throughout the whole story. But the fact that she's just that gross and that petty and that spiteful to every single person that has something special about them, it's so gross. Like if you're special in any way, she hates you and she's envious of you for it. He's like, hey, I'm a speedster. She's like, you know what? You didn't do shit to me, but I'm gonna make sure you can't walk no more. Like what? That's just who she is, and it's gross. Oh my god, she's got.
They're doing a great job of making people hate Rachel. She definitely seems like she has a sadistic side. Also, she kept on saying, "I'm doing nothing wrong. She's done nothing wrong." Again, I'm so curious. Though, like, what is Rachel's backstory that made her like this? But I will say this though: yes, she was stabbing the crap out of Don and his legs, but he can walk now. She didn't kill him. That's all I'm saying. She didn't kill him.
That's the messed up thing, Riddell. She didn't want to kill him. She wanted him to live paralyzed. That's what she wanted. She wanted him to suffer for the rest of his life. That's worse.
But he didn't though.
I think.
So
I'm pretty sure when she finds out that he can walk, she's gonna be pissed.
oh man, I'm trying to. As long as there's a little glimmer of light, I'm trying to keep that light there We'll see. I forget some of the stuff she does on Hell Train. I do know.
He wants to like Rachel. I don't get like. There's no
Yeah, see,
redeemable
I don't want to
quality.
like Rachel. I just want to have at least some type of empathy for when Bam and Rachel eventually meet each other again. Like later on in the story.
They're
Because
never gonna
their
get.
moment is the most important one.
They're never gonna get together. Uh, I hope Princess Abani murks her at the
Who?
end of the story. I hope she kicks her face off.
Princess Ubani? You're talking about Dorsey?
Somebody, anybody, or Coon, because her number one op is Coon for some reason. Her and Coon,
Oh yeah. Her number one op is
no,
for sure Kun.
forget Bam. Like she hates Bam in a way, but she also still cares about Bam. But she hates Coon with a passion. She hates Coon more than anybody else. So I hope Coon ends up killing her. I hope so. I pray that he ends up killing her.
There's just something intriguing about Rachel's story that I'm like, I need to see why. Can I potentially justify how terrible of a person she's been? But at the same time, like if you really think about it, what she did with Ban had to happen. She had to. She had to do it to
Yeah, but
push
with
him.
everybody else throughout the story that she does stuff to, usually has nothing to do with Bam, and it's usually just shit to do with her. And then there
Okay.
are times where she goes out of her way. She goes out of her way to do stuff to Bam's group. She's like, "Oh wait, you saw them all the way over there. What if I just to fuck with them? What if I just give you this and then you just mess with them real quick?" Like she just goes out of her way.
Hey, I will try to justify everything she's doing until I'm proven otherwise. That is my bit right now. I will justify everything Rachel's doing, and this is how I'm going to justify what she did with Dawn. Maybe if she didn't do that, Michael and Apple would have killed him. You think about that? They killed the bird dude. Maybe if she didn't do that, they would have killed him too.
They would have killed Ban.
No, they would have killed Dawn, the runner dude, because
Did that herself? No, they would have.
Apple and Michael killed the bird dude. They would have killed Dawn too.
When we get in the next episodes when we cover the other arcs, I'm always gonna be like, oh, so when she did this, let's see how many times you can just justify her bullshit actions.
We'll see how much I can, man. We'll see. Right now, I also, kind of step it. We get since we're talking about Rachel, might as well kind of fast forward a little bit. The fact that I forget who was narrating, but someone was narrating. I think it was Hurry She was narrating and talking about how Rachel and Bam are going to be the people to shake up the tower. And you have to be impressed as a person who says he's a villain. You have to be impressed that Rachel organized this entire group and then also was in cahoots with Horion's brother as well.
Yeah,
As a villain, you have to admit that's impressive.
she's the definition of a leech. Like she leeches on to group to group. That's how like she's gonna shake up the tower because she just keeps on climbing up the pole to be like she's like, hey, how can I leech off of this group? Okay, now they're about to die off. How can I jump onto this group then? Get what I can from them. Let me get up. Like she's willing to like she has no morals. She has no high ground. Like she's willing to do whatever it is to get what she wants, and that's just to keep on getting higher and higher and higher. So, but also she leaves like wreckage in her wake every single time, and she does not care about casualties. She does not care about collateral damage. So, the fact that people know that like, oh, there's a person willing to do anything. Oh, let me see if I can use her. Then let me see if I can use her. Let me see how I can use her. But then she ends up using them back in some way. Or a lot of times, she also gets lucky as hell. She just gets lucky as hell sometimes.
Hey
So,
man, luck is a skill too. I'm sure we've heard that. Blue Lock said it in itself. Luck is a skill as well, man. You
because
gotta make your own luck.
there's a few times where I'm like, oh, she might die right here. Nope.
Hey man, watch out for that girl Rachel. We also got the and Horion's brother's name is Kasano. I had to look it up real quick. We also got the moment where Horion has to leave the group to go find his brother Kasano. The got another guy who had the same kind of stuff happen to him from the workshop, and we also had him leave the group, And then we had Kuhn, his group with Ron and Novik went to go look for Cassano because they wanted to recruit him. And then Juviole Grace went to go look for him as well. When you were watching this, did you think that they were going to reunite so soon?
Not so soon. It was like pretty fast. Like I thought, like oh, they might like reunite towards the end of the season or something like that. But it was just like it was like that. I was just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I was.
Bad pacing. No, I mean because it still flows with the story. I did think it was a little bit too soon though.
I think. I think it ended up working for me because Cohn was the only person who knew. So everybody else was still gonna happen later on, but Kuhn needed to know because, like Horion said, he's a very special regular because he's so intelligent, he's so skilled. He needed to know to deal with the plans with Fug because Fug was doing all this to kill Kuhn and to trap Bam. So they needed Cone to ensure that he knew what was going on. And then what would happen is that there was a whole bigger plot. Kasano kidnapped Hurryong. Fug took Bam. And then Novik and Ron initially were enemies, but they were basically turned into hostages by Bam as well. And then Kun was lost, but he was found by Wagnon's group. So the entire dynamic change where all these characters are just going in completely different directions, I actually fucked with a lot. It made the story very dynamic at that moment. Um, what do you think when you saw that happen? And then also the TV, the media was pushing that Juviole Grace killed Coon.
I felt like the dynamics were pretty interesting when it all like came together. Now, I don't know if it was done the best, but also like the media. I think the media coverage, I think, is like probably it's the most underrated point of this of the series throughout because they paint Viola Grace as like some mega terrorist monster guy when we all know it's Bam, who in reality probably wouldn't hurt a fly if he didn't have to, and he doesn't technically really do anything. Like he does some stuff, but like he's not. They're like, oh, it's more like the reputation that like they pump into him as like oh the next great Slayer, yada 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 yada.
Yeah.
But I didn't have a problem with it, but I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting moving forward, especially with things that happen later on. I'm really wondering exactly how Bam's going to end up.
Yeah, it was a very interesting dynamic change. And also, shout out, man. The development from Bam being that little weak, frail kid who didn't know how to do anything to be extremely independent and being able to handle situations by himself and be able to negotiate, be a leader, be able to fight by himself. That growth I mess with so much because that kind of weak, frail type of stuff, never, I'm never a big fan of it. But once the time skip, Bam just is a dog moving forward. Juvioli Grace is just a demon who just doesn't know certain social cues. So I really rock with Bam. You know what dynamic was very interesting, and we know why this dynamic is so important now. Like thinking about the Hell Train arc, but Wongnon and Kun's dynamic is extremely interesting. And you guys will see more. We won't spoil this part, but you'll see more of what we're talking about later on in the Hell Train arc. Um, but do you think that there's something there for a future possibility between those two in particular?
I do. Like, I feel like, because Kun, at the end of the day, is overly protective of Bond. And I think that, of Bam, I keep on saying Bond, Bam. Uh, I feel like in the future, they're gonna get in each other's way, especially if Wanyang goes against Bam. Kun Kun's not gonna react well to that because Kun is like Bam over everybody. So I think like if my theories about Wanyan are correct, Kun's gonna try to kill that. He's gonna try to kill him immediately. So and Bam, well, I love him because Bam is one of my favorite MCs. Like he really, his growth is ridiculous in terms of like his mentality and how he views the world and stuff like that. Sometimes it can be annoying because it's just he's almost like Luffy in a lot of ways, where it's just like my way or the highway. I don't care. I'll figure it out. Oh, this doesn't work out. I'll figure it out. Oh, I can die. Who cares? I'm doing it to protect my friends. Like sometimes he's too headstrong, which eventually creates problems later on. I think it's gonna create even more problems. But when it comes to like his inner friend group, I don't know what he would actually do. Because like if Kuhn's like, hey, he's got to go, and he also knows that like, oh, this needs to happen, he might try to find a different way. But I don't know in this situation if there's gonna be one. If my theories
Mm.
are correct.
Yeah, that would be very interesting um, to see how that kind of plays out for their end goal for sure. All right, further into the season, we had Shibisu's team appeared. Shibisu seems much more capable. He's with Endorsi, he's with Hot, he's with Anak. He has also a couple more new members. The B dude he has as well. The girl who can control puppets and octopuses. She's a part of his group, and then this big dude who can box a little bit. So Shibisu returns to the story, and eventually Rock returns to the story as well. He's getting followed by the green dude. Um, how do you feel when they eventually return back into the fray?
Rock is my dude. I love him. I love he's a crash out. His future lore is gonna be crazy. I can't wait to talk about that in the future. Uh, with the rest of the group, I don't really care about. I honestly don't. I really don't really care about most of them. Uh, I don't even think the dude that sleeps all the time is there.
He shows up at the very end of the
And
season.
the thing is, like in season one, we thought like, oh, he's gonna be a monster. He's gonna be like a problem partner. We never get to see him. So that's
He has to be important somehow, bro.
and then the Timu princess, she just never really moved me ever. Like
Oh, and Dorsey.
no, the green
Oh,
one.
a knock.
Yeah, Knock never moves me. I'm sorry. She's cool. Yeah, she likes to fight. She's a good fighter at this stage. Cool. And the leader, like he's like a Shikamaru type. I respect like his strategy and his thought process, but I'm like at the same time, he's just a lesser version of Kun. So it's like cool. Like he doesn't like if he had like a crazy ability or like something like really special, I think I'd probably like him a little bit more. But it's like he doesn't
Yeah, he's
he
just a
doesn't
good
have anything that's like,
leader.
oh, he's gonna be a problem. The sword guy though, he's the one that like with the most potential. So I do like him throughout the story. I feel like he's eventually gonna become a real problem.
Hope
Especially
so.
since he's just getting it out the mud. Like he's not from one of the 10 great families. He's not from the sword family, but he's a dog. And he's just getting better and better. So outside of him,
And Dorsey.
who's not in their group technically, I don't really care about anybody else.
Um, I hear you. Hots, I wish he got more stuff, but he's a good like side character to come here and there to do some very interesting things. Um, Pretty with you for the most part. Rock obviously is very important. I kept on bringing up Endorsi because Endorsi is an interesting one because she's a princess of Jihad, and they keep on trying to. She has like a crush on Bam. I'm not moved. I am not one of those people that
She's gonna
wants
end up
Bam.
with Bam, Riddell.
No, she's not, bro.
It's
It's
not
just
gonna be Rachel.
it's so underwhelming. It's either Rachel or nobody. I'm telling you right now, it's either
Makes
Rachel
no
or nobody.
sense. And Dorsey likes him.
So
They
does
vibe.
every girl that meets Bam. I'm not moved.
No, some girls like admire Bam, but like she likes Bam.
Literally every girl that meets Bam thinks he's attractive and legit. That's why Dorsey started talking to him, and then find out he's a good guy, and then they like him. She's so surface level. I'm not moved. I'm not moved,
Surface.
bro.
Right now, you're
Yeah.
just being rude to her.
The only one I'm moved with is Rachel. Come on, their story is way more interesting than freaking Dorsey and Bam.
You
Come
want him
on.
to end up with the girl that like tries to kill all his friends and shit. But
Well, they could kill each other. Like they just die together or some shit. Um, I initially thought Dorsey was going to end up with Hots, but that's probably going to happen. And Dorsey just doesn't. Her crush on Bam doesn't move me. It just doesn't.
hey, who else has been on a date with Bam?
That shit was so Mickey. She just kept on forcing him. She just kept on saying, just she forced him into a date
Hey, he still went though.
because he's a nice guy. Legit, any girl that asked him to go on a date, he would have gone.
We'll
You
never,
know that's true as well. He would have gone. Anyone who asked him. Um.
we'll never know.
Anyway, we also had a Knock and Ron fight, so that was a pretty cool moment. We had um we had Yama's Mad Dog, the strongest E ranked regular, enter the story, who is a Fug Slayer. Yama, he was interesting. Remember the name Yama because there's going to be a big arc with Yama later on in the story. And then eventually down the line, we had a couple characters show up. We had Rack and Bam reunite. We had Leroy show up into the workshop. He's trying to uncover what's going on. When you after looking at what's going on in the workshop, there's a lot of like different plot lines. The stuff with Beta, the stuff with Emily, the stuff with Kasano, um, the stuff with Bam and the Thorn, the stuff the with the family leader that shows up. I wonder, a lot of people are surprised, but a family leader does show up at the end of this season as well. Fug, there's so many different plot lines, a lot to cover, but ultimately, we start off with kind of all right. We'll tackle this one by one, right? So, Bam's group with the Fug are at the workshop, and then Kuhn has to help Wangnon's group beat Bam's group at the workshop in all the competitions. And to bring Bam back into their group, Horion's kind of helping them as well. There's kind of like infighting with Fug on what they want to do with Bam, and we eventually start getting some, Bam reuniting with some of his old friends. Did that feel you? That did that make you warm inside when you saw Bam reuniting with his old friends?
No,
Damn, heartless.
I mean when he reunited with Coon and Rock, yeah. Other than that, no. I don't care about the. They're the NPCs. They're the people in the back. They're the cheerleaders. I'm
Very
happy
valid.
for them. I was like, hey, Coon and Rock, that's the big three. Outside
No,
of
that
like,
is. We also got King Horyong and Goseng basically confirming that they're a kind of thing. We got some interesting dynamics. We got Kang Horyong Goseng being a little couple. Prince and Mising kind of like being a very interesting dynamic between those two as well. And some of the first like interesting plot points is they talk about an individual named Enryu killing an administrator, creating a thorn that was found at the battlefield. They call it the Kingslayer thorn, and they wanted the Fog's plan was to melt Bam with the thorn to create a weapon, which was kind of crazy. Um, but what you think about Fog's plan on how they wanted to do with Bam?
Enryu's a very interesting character. Like we still don't really know a lot about him, but the fact that basically his leftovers from his powers of killing an administrator, just his left. Just think about like, oh, I can summon spears to kill an administrator, which is like the most powerful being on that on that plane. And like, hey, instead of finding this guy or trying to recruit this guy ourselves, who can just who can just kill an administrator, we're gonna use his leftovers from his battle to try to create a weapon to try to kill Jihad or whatever. I mean, I'm sure they probably try to find him and all that other stuff, but like that also just kind of shows how strong this guy might actually be. Where it's just like I don't know. That's like if say like in Fate Gilgamesh threw some spears or whatever, but he can summon thousands of spears because I think like they showed in the panel like he summoned thousands of spears or whatever to kill the administrator. So Gilgamesh just summoned regular stuff where he summons thousands of spears. They're like, hey, instead of getting Gilgamesh, we're just gonna use some of these weapons that he just threw away or just left over, and we're gonna create like an ultimate weapon with it. So
Yeah, they the reason why, I mean, the one of the things you can kind of allude to based on what was implied is that Enryu was probably too strong, and they were scared of Bam becoming too strong, which is why they wanted to turn him into an ignition weapon. The big thing behind all this plan is that the workshop was working on creating living ignition weapons by turning people into weapons, basically. That's what happened with King Hirion and Kasano. And that's what they wanted to do with Bam, but reverse by turning Bam into an ignition weapon by melting him with the thorn. And these thorns are very important, and especially for Bam, various power ups. But yeah, Enryu is going to be a problem. Enryu, pay attention to his name. He's an irregular. Urich, obviously, and Bam. You got three names right off the rip of big wild cards for the series. Uh, Another very interesting thing that happened in this like workshop battle is the perception of like gods, so to speak, in the sense that a lot of people are very much fans of Fug, and they try to revere Bam as a god, and Bam is like, I don't want to be your god. Whereas Karaka completely buys into it, and people currently revere him as a god, or used to revere him as a god, which might be a hint on his past as well. So that's a big thing about trying to find a god to kind of change the world is a big thing they do in the Tower of God universe, which is very interesting as well. Um, did you want to say something?
yeah, interesting thing about Fugue. Well, Fugue is like in terms of manga, one of the most complicated organizations I've ever seen. Like it's just over like everyone it's really like just a group of people that all have their own self motives because these slayers they're not all after jihad. There's some slayers are after specific members of like the 10 families and things like that. So it's like say someone's after Kuhn's family and then someone's after the Han family and they both need something, they're part of the same organization, but they'll screw each other over to get what they want. When like the whole goal is to take down the 10 families together and stuff like that. But like no, they'll if you're after Jahab, but someone else is after someone else, and you're in their way, they'll murk you. But it's like, aren't you all? Don't you guys all have the same goal technically? So yeah, it's really interesting how the impact that the 10 great families have, where it's like people are like if you just take down one of the 10 families, or you're after one of the 10 families, they're like, oh my god, you're a god. When like there's still besides the 10 families, there's still someone above that. So I don't know. It's Fugue is just complicated, man.
It's very dynamic, and it just tells you the complexity of this world where everybody have like their own individual motives and reasoning behind doing things, which makes this kind of very interesting. Later on, we had Quattro, like the fire dude. I wrote down this because I thought it kind of highlights what we were saying about Wangnan. He's basically told Wangnan, I'm not helping Bam, I'm helping you. And again, this is kind of seed sowing that yes, a lot of people, this story is technically Bam's story, but do not forget Wong Non and his ambitions as well. The sleepy dude eventually comes back later. He actually helped fight with Beta, identifying that there was a worm in Beta and then using his control of Shinsu to get the worm out. And then he went back to sleep. I'm gonna be honest, I'm with you, bro. This sleepy guy's supposed to be important. Then he does something very important in the fight against Beta, and then just gone. I don't know what to think about this sleeping dude. Maybe he's like one of the most important characters later on, but I don't know. He shows up. Um,
I'm way ahead of you. I don't remember the last time I even saw this dude. I don't remember the last time I even saw him. It's been hundreds of chapters.
It's it's
Oh no.
it's it's nasty work. We also got some name drops. We have Pokin, who gets name dropped by Reljo, which is probably very important Fug member, and then we got Kasano betraying Fug and betraying the Fug elder, who actually was at the workshop, aligns himself with Rachel and takes Emily, which was someone who was melted into an ignition weapon who thinks she's still alive, basically an AI. Just that's the easiest way to think about her. And now he wants to use Emily to change the tower with Rachel, which talk about a plot twist, man.
No, Emily's definitely one of the more interesting parts of this throughout the whole story because yeah, she thinks she's alive, but she's not, and a lot of people just use her, which is weird. I don't know. Not that it's weird. It's like she's. I still don't exactly understand what her power is or how she just knows everything or knows whatever you need to know. I don't know if maybe I need to reread that part or whatever, but now she's definitely Rachel's biggest advantage throughout the series, I'd say.
I'm guessing she has access to like an overarching like database service, and then she just whatever information is put into there, she's able to immediately know. Kind of like just AI in general, because they say that if you give Emily certain information, she can regurgitate it for people.
Right.
Um, so I think that's kind of how it works. But yeah, Emily's a very important tool, and for kind of Rachel's master plan. Another thing we found out is Rejo, the guy with the mask. We found out why he hates Jihad's family. And I'm be honest, after hearing his backstory, he's a very reasonable crash out. I would crash out as well. Basically, all he did was look at a princess of Jihad or daughter of Jihad, and that daughter was like, "Okay, how dare you look at me? I'm gonna cut out your eyes and kill your entire family." That legit only reason why he just looked at her. So it tells you how messed up some of these daughters and this kind of jihad structure really is.
Yeah, people have been dealing with that type of shit for hundreds of years. And like it's not just like these aren't just small families. Like these are like many cities or many empires filled with people that treat everybody else like this. So especially like if you're like the father that or if you're like a family member like directly related to a prince of jihad, you probably treat people the same way, which is crazy. So yeah, it's very Tower God's very complex, but yeah, though 10 families are just like beyond corrupt, all of them.
Oh, for 100%. One thing I did find interesting. So when Rejo was kind of about to die and get melted, Bam was falling. And you know what's interesting about when Bam was falling? He kind of saw his life flash before his eyes, and you would automatically assume the person he would see would be Kun and Rock. The person he sees is Wongnan. He was thinking about Wongnan as his life was flashing before his eyes. Do we think that's something? And he actually calls out Wongnan's name as well. Or do we think it's nothing?
I think it's I don't know. I don't know because we don't know enough about Wang Yan. If we want to be fair, we still don't know enough about Bam. We
True.
still don't know enough about Bam. But their connection is undeniable. I really feel like, in terms of end goals, besides Jihad, they're gonna be either they're gonna be he's gonna help defeat Jihad, or he's gonna get in the or he's gonna be the last person standing to get to Jihad. If that makes sense, at least in my opinion, that's what's gonna happen. So I don't know. And random fact, but it might be related to Wanyan in some way we don't know yet. The author said that if Bam and Jihad met when Jihad was climbing the tower, they would be the best friend. They would be best friends. But their destiny right now is like eventually kill each other or one has to go. But the author said if they traveled together, like if they entered the tower together, they would be inseparable. They would be the best of friends.
It just makes me think like that's why I'm so fascinated in Wandan's story
Hmm.
and what he provides for Tower of God. It's gonna be so interesting. It's gonna be so interesting. It's good to have like this healthy foil for Bam potentially, or I mean allied too. Don't worry, we have plenty of Wandan that's gonna come with the Hell Train arc. It's gonna be very interesting. Um, but yeah, I'm very curious. That Hell Train arc is gonna be fire. It's gonna be a while before it gets animated, but we're not gonna wait for the anime. We're gonna be reading that manhwa. Don't worry.
We got a lot to
Um,
talk about before the manhwa starts up again.
but yeah, I agree. Like the fact that it's still so interesting that Bam saw Walnon and had a vision of Walnon trying to save him and not Kun. It just tells you they are very much intertwined. We also got the introduction of the first family leader in Tower of God, Po Bedo Gustong, who took out that Fug Elder and did everything they got going on here and gave everybody the rewards that they were supposed to get. First family elder. First impressions?
I mean, I know more about him now, but Gustang or Gustang, whatever. I mean, Gustang kind of sounds like Mustang, and like they both kind of deal with explosions and stuff like that. I'm gonna call him Gustang. Uh, Gustang's a really he has like these ulterior motives. I'm not gonna reveal what they are because like that's a future arc. But he's out of the elders or people up top that we've met so far, he's the most interesting because we still don't. I don't know. I feel like he's the most integral part to this story besides Bam at this point, and even Rachel. Like I really feel like when it comes to the conclusion of the story, he's gonna be maybe not the engine, but he's gonna be like one of the leading factors into getting like the final things rolling. Like he has to be because he has his hands in way too many pots, and his family like they deal with like information and knowledge, and something with Tower of God is we never know enough. We never know enough. It's almost like dealing with One Piece. Like there's always something else. But his family specializes in exactly what everyone wants to know. So yeah, the more that the fans like interact with him or like see him, the more I think they're gonna like him. Especially because even though he's the smart guy with the glasses and everything like that, he's also a crash out. He's like the big. He has the biggest temper out of all the family leaders. He has the biggest temper. So just keep that in mind moving forward.
Yeah, we got big name drops for super strong individuals so far. The family leader, Urk and Enryu. This world is big, man. There is very big fish that Bam and the rest have to kind of overcome. Um, we also got we said this before, but I'm gonna reiterate it. It's extremely impressive. When I saw Beta pierce Wangnon's heart, I kept on looking. I'm like, where he was piercing him. I'm like, bro, that's legit at his chest where his heart is. And then he legit just recovers the next day. So that's just an insane feat considering how Tower of God was building this guy to be so weak. And it was very interesting in the moment where he was taken out is that when he was at his bed, we had, oh, just before that, he actually said a compliment to Yeon, who blushed, by the way. And then when he was kind of unconscious at the bed when they were celebrating, Yeon was at his bed. The only person there, she was just looking at him, and then she tried to touch his ring, and then he woke up. So there, and then later on, where Wanon was up and perfectly fine, we had Quattro and the guy with the scar on his face saying that Wanon is more interesting than I expected, and then we had Yeon just staring at him. So what did you think of when you saw this kind of dynamic kind of developing between Wang Non and Eon?
Interesting, but I don't know. I feel like I don't want to like think too big on it, but there's something special about him. But obviously, we don't know what it is yet. he doesn't even know what it is yet. It might be one of those situations where he needs a catalyst. He might need to lose something. He might need someone to take it away from him. So maybe that's what he ends up losing. I wouldn't be mad at it because I need to see what this dude is about.
Losing Eon.
Something, maybe something. I don't know. Someone needs to push him. Something needs to push him. That's what I know.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see what it would unfold. I would say this dynamic between them two clears in Dorsey and Bam. I'm very clear on that.
You just hate the Dorsey. You just hate.
Bro, she like I'm gonna be honest. And Dorsey don't move me. I'm being very clear. I just don't. I'm not a Dorsey fan at all. Um, but it seemed like a more genuine kind of dynamic compared to those two at the very least. Um, so I'm very curious to see how it's going to unfold. Then we get the scene of Karaka having the exact same ring as Wangnan. What will that mean for the future? Very much pay attention to that. We'll tell you this for the next upcoming arc. Karaka will be very much involved in the next coming arc. So pay attention to that. And then we also had Kun create a whole entire task force to go find Rachel with Novik, Ron, Dawn, and um and the girl with the bunny ears. She decided to join as well.
But there's just too many names in Tower God.
Yeah, I had to write all of them down so to kind of make sure I remember them. And that's basically where Tower of God season 2 ends. I mean, it technically ends with Rachel joining up with Kasano. We got a new task force going after Rachel. They have to go to the Hell Train arc because Haryong is unconscious, and they need to chase after Kasano to get the demon back for Haryong so he could survive. And then they also need to go on the train to rank up because they're only D class, no E class regulars right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, Tower of God season 2, man. What you think about the last final bits?
The last final bits were good. I do like the last fight. Um, the last fight it also kind of shows like where they are at and like how much farther they need to go because the guy with the mask, he was only a B rank guy. He was only B rank.
Yeah.
I mean, there's still A, and then like the what's the I forget what the not regulars the status you get when you clear the tower.
High ranker?
Oh no, they're not even rankers or high rankers yet. They're still like C class, and they can barely handle a B rank. And I think they said like A ranks, it takes like multiple B ranks to even like be able to touch A rank, and then no matter what, you can't do anything to a ranker. Once you're a ranker, it doesn't matter if you're like A rank or whatever. It doesn't matter if you're the best A rank of all time. I think in I think they said like in the trivia books or whatever, in the data books, one Princess of Jihad as a A rank was able to hurt, not even defeat, able to hurt a ranker. So the fact that like they're dealing with the 10 great families who are even above the high rankers and things like that, they have a long way to go.
Yeah, 100%. That thorn will help Bam for sure. But they have a long way to go for but yeah, Tower of God season 2, the anime, I 100% think it was overhated. Um I think it was actually pretty good. There were some low points, uh, like in between the first part and the workshop. That was kind of a little bit of a low point, but the lore, the characters, the dynamics, the plot twists, all of that was top tier. The animation actually was pretty good. I think people are just over exaggerating on some fights, but yeah, man, I'm ready for to keep on reading. Tower of God Hell arc. I'm here for it. I know some things. I know things that happen in there for sure. I can't, especially I can't wait till they go into that one location that something very interesting happens with certain characters. But
And
we're here for it, man.
one of my favorite villains that I've been over the last few years shows up in the Hell arc. and he's going to be a problem. I can't wait to talk about him because he's a very interesting character.
I'm talking about White.
Yeah.
White is a demon. White is a demon for sure. Big moments for White for the next one, if to kind of incentivize people to read it. Big moments for Karaka in the next arc as well, and obviously Bam and his squad too. And huge lore in the next arc as well. So, with that said, that is all we got for our Tower of God Season 2 breakdown. We'll be back after I finish reading the Hell arc. And hope you guys enjoy it. You have a good one. Take care. Peace.